Hi, iDreamers. We're here with Corinne Loperfido, curator of Pussy Powerhouse. She is creating an event this Saturday called Zero Waste at P.S. Kaufman. And we wanted to have a little conversation here in her studio to see what is it that inspired you to create this event and when did you get into zero waste?
So yeah, thank you iDreamTV for being here. And so this party basically was inspired by Rochelle, who a bunch of people have met at the parties before. She did the toothpaste, like make your own toothpaste thing at the self-care party. And she's the first person that really told me about zero waste as a concept. And I mean, I've always been, well, once you get into this lifestyle, you're kind of like, ooh, wow, I identified as environmentally conscious and I still bought all this plastic shit and threw it away. Like, so it's a little intense when you first get into it, but I wanted to do this party to help people realize, like, we have to stop using plastic, we have to stop buying fast fashion and just going getting new things all the time, but we were all born into this system and it's really hard to change our ways when the entire world is set up to perpetuate this disposable single-use culture. And so I just wanted to have a fun party. So there's going to be a clothing swap and different interactive stuff. iDreamTV will be there doing interviews and
Biodegradable glitter, right?
Yeah. There's like, all the different fun things of life, like fashion and dressing up and making meals with your friends. Everything that you do, you can still do, but you just have to do it in a little bit of a different way and be a little bit more aware about how to not. Just think about when you buy something. Imagine if you had to keep the packaging. And I guess this, like, we can talk about my project that I'm working on here too.
Yeah.
Is so in preparation for this party, every month I have a different theme for Pussy Powerhouse. Basically, whatever I feel like learning about, and then I'm like, yo, let's all talk about this. So they all have the bigger picture is really talking about the earth and taking care of the earth, because the earth is really fucked up right now, and humans are to blame for that. But the complex issue is that it's not one individual human that did this thing. It's like some humans a long time ago, before our lifetime, created the idea of using something one time and throwing it away. And now we all grew up in that world, and here we are being like, wait, no, we can't do this. But we're in the middle of it. And so, with the party, it's kind of like, how do we all come together and be like, what are the problems, what are the solutions, and how can we just like move on over to the next way that we do things, and make it fun and positive, instead of like, oh no, I have to change everything about my life and it's horrible.
Right. And what have been like the biggest challenges for you to do your project 2018? You told us that you're going to go completely like zero waste and try to make as least amount of waste possible. What have been your challenges so far? How does your life look like? Where are you buying things? Mm-hmm. What are you reusing? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so in the process of working on this party and just, I have so many supplies in my art studio. I've been spending years collecting stuff, and then I started collecting trash to make this project, and my house is just like being overwhelmed with art supplies and different things I was like gonna use someday. And I come from a long line of people that have things because they're gonna use them someday, and I just was like, you know what, I need to get in check with this. And so I was like, well, I already know that I want to stop buying single-use plastic, and I have more clothes than I could ever want, so I don't need to buy clothes, and I don't need to buy stuff in plastic anymore, because I'm ready now to commit to like shopping in the bulk section and going the extra effort to actually not create plastic. It is more effort, but I'm committed to doing that.
So how do you do that?
Yeah, so I basically started by looking up which stores you can buy bulk stuff at. I mean, for clothes, I've already been on the path for this, but now it's like me taking it more seriously. For clothes, you go to the thrift store or buy things from locally made people, find out where they're getting their fabric for, and just generally be more curious about where the things are that you buy. Where do they come from, because where do they come from in the earth? Who makes them? How do they get to you? How long do you plan on having them for? But food is a different story, because we need to eat food every day, and most people don't grow their own food. So how do we, as urban people and 8 billion human beings that need to eat 3 meals a day on this planet, how do we change our relationship to food and have less packaging it is possible, and it is easier if you live in a major city where you can actually go to a grocery store. Like, for example, in LA, there's a place called Co-Opportunity in Santa Monica, and they have a huge bulk section. You can get, your soap refilled. You can get honey, apple cider vinegar, oil, all this stuff that you buy, but like there is a place you can go and you just refill it when you need it to be refilled. And so that is a luxury that people have who live in a city. I mean, we live in a humongous city of Los Angeles, and still I live on the east side, and maybe there is a place. So if you're out there, you live on the east side and there's a place to get bulk stuff, please comment and let us know, because I'm just trying to collect information to make it easier for people, because the more that people buy from the bulk section and stop buying fast fashion, we change our patterns, that's going to create new culture, and there's going to be new businesses that open up. For example, package-free grocery stores and different places where people can actually do this more effectively. But right now, I go to places like Sprouts, Whole Foods, Lassen's, the Co-op. There's a small business. There's one in Highland Park and one in Echo Park called Cookbook, and they're basically like a farmer's market. Like, they get all their food from the farmer's market, and then they have some other things like cheese and meat and yogurt and eggs and all this stuff, but it's like the size of my bedroom, basically, the store, but they have everything you need. And so when you think about the grocery store, a lot of times, like, the best stuff is on the outside, like the produce and the healthy food, and then on the inside is all the packaged food in the center aisles. So, but this place, Cookbook, they basically got rid of all that crap. And they're like, we just have the real food. And so by supporting a small business like that, yeah, I pay $1 more for some, like yogurt is $1 more expensive, but the produce is basically the same as anywhere else, and it's local and organic, and I'm supporting a small business. So it's like, that's also a luxury I have, to have that extra $1. I mean, I don't, but I choose to, and it's like, that's the whole thing about voting with our dollar. And so for me, zero waste is like by choosing to buy my things in the bulk bin, by choosing to refill things instead of just going the easy route and being like, I could just buy a new plastic thing. I'm putting in that extra effort, hoping that people see me and notice it, and they start doing it, and then together we all can change the way that things are manufactured and distributed by the way that we spend our money.
Right. Tell us a little bit more about the books that you've been reading that brought you to all these conclusions and brought you to explore this lifestyle of zero waste. What books would you recommend to people who are just starting out, who just want to find out more about zero waste?
So the first book, and Rochelle, like I said, she'll be at the event. She's the one who kind of turned me on to all this. But here, I'll show it here. The Zero Waste Home. This book is kind of the Bible of all things that you need to figure out. This woman, Bea Johnson, really just figured it all out. And the book goes through and tells you where to shop, how to shop, what to get rid of, and, she does it in a non-judgmental way. She's just like, hey, this is me, this is what I did for my family, and if you want to do it, I figured it all out. It's right here. So I think I paid $5 for this on the internet, and it will save me tens of thousands of dollars over my lifetime and the planet in the process. So highly recommended. And then this book, actually, Gone Tomorrow, The Hidden Life of Garbage. I started reading this book when I was in college. I worked at an independent bookstore, and we would get a lot of college books in, and I was like, wow, interesting. So it's kind of like the history of America as told through our relationship with garbage, starting, when we first came here, and how the disposable culture kind of developed, and how we went from, necessity before the Industrial Revolution. You use everything, and if, you had a sack for flour, you made a dress out of it, or whatever afterwards. We actually, out of necessity, had to use stuff, reuse stuff. But now that we live in this culture where we can have anything we want, and there's infinite options, people think, oh, well, why would I reuse something? I could just buy a new thing. And it's like, because the ocean is poisoned, the planet is poisoned, and you really ultimately don't need to. So it's kind of about, for me, like reading that book about the history of garbage, put it in perspective, and that's why I have this kind of opinion of like, well, it's not an opinion, it's just a fact. We were born into it.
Right.
But, it is my hope that we can, by coming together and talking about it and making it less of a subject that, like, we don't deal with. It's like, we got to deal with the garbage. I mean, you can't just pretend it doesn't exist. That's how we got into this problem in the first place, by pretending it doesn't exist. So, anyway, that's kind of more about history.
Right.
Zero Waste Home is about your logistically, how do you shop. This book is another one of my personal favorites. I always mess up the title.
Life-changing magic of tidying.
Yes.
Ooh.
This book tells you about how to get rid of things that you don't want, and I can basically sum up the book in one sentence. Her thesis is really like, find out in your life what sparks joy and keep that. So if you, as you go through your home, if you choose to do this and, you know, get rid of stuff that you don't want and get rid of plastic, get rid of old clothes, using her method where you just hold the object in your hand and you are honest, you have to be honest with your first opinion. Does this spark joy? And if the answer is no, and you're like, I'm not going to use this, it doesn't make me happy, I'm going to let it move on. And, you know, the idea, excuse me, the idea, and this is something that Bea Johnson talks about as well in her book, is that if you have things that you're not using, you're kind of holding them hostage from other people using them. And so that was, you know, one of the reasons why I wanted to do a clothing swap at the party, is that we all have all this stuff that we buy, but a lot of it, like, we don't need anymore, it doesn't fit us, it was a gift, we never really wanted it to begin with, and it clutters up our life. And so using this method that, you know, she talks about in the book, where you just basically are honest with yourself about whether you want something or not, then you would be amazed how much you just get rid of and don't ever miss it. Because you didn't really want it, and you might have been keeping it out of guilt. Oh, I paid a lot of money for it, or someone gave it to me, or it has sentimental value. You know, you can put all the sentimental things in a little box and look at them once a year and be like, yay, my favorite t-shirt. But other than that, you don't need to have all these things just like cluttering up and like suffocating your house and your mind. So, highly recommended, and that kind of set me on the path. I read that book a little while ago, a few years ago. So it's like all these things have been trickling in, but really reading the Zero Waste Home and taking this more seriously, and then doing this project where I'm not going to buy anything besides food and toilet paper, and, you know, I might want to get some more like zero waste supplies, like things to make it better and more efficient for eating out, and not, because right now I have plastic to-go containers, but I would like to get metal ones. So I might buy that, but we'll see. Maybe I can find it at the thrift store.
Right.
And then the last book I have to recommend is this book called The Urban Homestead, Your Guide to Self-Sufficient Living in the Heart of the City. And this book talks about composting, canning, fermentation. There's just a lot of stuff in it that speaks to the same morals as the zero waste lifestyle, which is just to not create trash and to not buy unnecessary things. And the thing I love about the idea of, I mean, not everyone has space in an urban setting or the time or money or interest to do it, but if you do, you know, for me, being able to like grow even just simple herbs and be able to, like, for example, this morning in the smoothie I had a bunch of mint because now it rained last week, all the plants are coming back, and so to be able to go outside in my own garden and have to eat something or drink something that I grew, like, is such a gift, and you can't buy that.
Right.
So learning these skills, which we would consider like primitive skills, like farm skills, it's like, but we're human beings, and it is our responsibility to be able to sustain ourselves, because, you know, mass consumption, it does make things easier when like one person grows all the tomatoes, but there's so many problems with that environmentally, in the soil, the bees are dying, and all these environmental issues as a result of our unquenchable thirst for something new and exciting and fresh that's perfect looking. And, you know, I just want people with this whole movement to be like, whoa, the earth is our home and we have to take care of it, and we each have a responsibility to do what we can within the realistic means of our budget, time, and what we're capable of in our living situation to do these things. But if we all make little changes, culture will change, and it'll happen.
Right. Great. And tell us a little bit more about disposable culture and single-use plastics.
Yeah, so again, the idea that, you know, whoever came up with this concept of single-use plastic or single-use anything, where did they think that was going to go? Like, you know, there's 8 billion people. Let's think about that. Say that each person drank a water out of a plastic water bottle every day. That's 8 billion times 365 times years. Like, you know, the math just doesn't add up. And it's like, where is this plastic coming from? Where is it going? And like, how long? For me, what I want to know is like, when is enough? Like, at what point, how bad does the planet have to get before people are like, oh, maybe I should get a glass water bottle or a metal water bottle and just refill it? You know, and I understand there's situations where you forget things sometimes, you know, but culturally, if things changed, there would be accommodations, you know, like there would be glass cups or reusable plastic cups, at least at different places where people could, I think if they had a choice, people would choose to use something that they could reuse. Like in a store, you go to a restaurant, they give you the option of a plastic cup or a glass cup. You're probably going to pick the glass cup that can get reused. But a lot of times it's cheaper and for health code reasons. And I'm like, okay, health code? You want to talk about health code? What about the health of this planet Earth that we are destroying? Like, because I'm not allowed to bring my clean container to the deli and, like, get them to put something in it, like, that's against health code because I might get sick and sue them. It's like, I understand the concept. You don't want to get sued. People don't clean their shit. I understand that. But the planet is dying, and you can't force people to use plastic all the time. So I'm calling for individuals to change their ways. I'm also equally calling for companies and stores to reconsider the way that they do things. I'm calling for the health code to change and be like, we need to examine the larger health of our planet and of our communities, and by continuing to throw things away and perpetuate this idea of unsanitary and unclean and all
and
this
disposable, right? Because you also talked about the culture and the way that people like to dispose of their partners through Tinder, through online dating, like all sorts of things. So it's not just our use of plastic, it's our use of people too.
It's our use of whatever we want, however we want, for the lowest price because I want it now. And it's kind of just like, okay, we tried that. We did that moment. Like, men mostly benefited from that moment. But here we are now being like, you know what? You don't need to have multiple homes and multiple cars and 20,000 pairs of high heel shoes. You know what I mean? Like, if there's different ways that we can kind of deal with this idea of greed and me, and I want it now and I need it, I must have it, and kind of be like, what do I really need? Who am I? What's important to me? What is my offering to this planet, to my community, to myself? Like, and where's my integrity? I feel like, you know, things like one night stands and online dating, like a quick fuck and then like wham bam, thank you ma'am, never call you again, break up with you over text. You know, it does play into that whole culture of not caring, not being responsible for your actions, not caring what happens to that person when you don't call them back. Right. Not caring about that plastic bottle when you like have a sample of something and then throw out this plastic container, you know? So really it's a call for personal responsibility and for each person to just go within themselves and be like, what do I really want? What do I really need? And who do I want to be? Period. Who do I want to be? What do I want my legacy to be? And how am I going to contribute to making things better? And that's going to be different for everybody. And I'm not judging people that use online dating or that use plastic. Like I said, we were born into this system, and everything that we do is an experiment. But sometimes you have to look at an experiment and say, okay, this isn't working, and so let's try something else. And so my experiment of not buying anything for a year and not creating any trash, it's an experiment. I mean, maybe I'll make it, maybe I won't. It's going to be interesting, and I welcome anyone to join me if you want to try living without trash and living without buying things unless you absolutely need them. It's just a fun thing to do because it makes you look at things differently, and it's kind of like, why not? Why not look at things in a different way? Because we've already tried, you know, the way that we are, and I just have to be honest, it's not working.
Right.
So part of this whole women's movement and all of it, this is part of it. It's like the movement of the earth, of women, of Mother Earth, and of just, you know, a new age where we are more respectful of the planet, of ourselves, of each other, and how we all come together and like help on a larger, because we live in a globalized world, we have to help on a globalized scale now.
Exactly. And you've also been collecting caps and materials and reusing materials from packaged food to turn into art, and which you're also bringing as an altar to the Powerhouse Zero Waste Party. So we're just gonna take you there.
I think.
Yeah.
Because this one's the one we're going to keep.
Right.
So this is like something that I've been working on. I basically saved most of my, not most, because that's the crazy part, is that there's just so much, and it's like embarrassing in a way, but then I'm just like, well, at least I'm dealing with it now. I mean, so it is what it is, but keeping my trash, and I just kept it and I moved it, and I was constantly like organizing trash within trash and other containers, and like, ooh, I just got this big container, now I can save more trash. And it's just like, after a while of doing that, I was like, I can't deal with all this trash. Even though I knew I was saving it for the project, it's not like I would be like, oh, I need to go drink more of these because I like the color of them. But it still is kind of like, once I had it all together and I was forced to look at it, I was kind of like, shit, where is it going to go? Like, that doesn't get recycled. I mean, recycling is not what we have been led to believe that it is. And so few things. Only 27% of plastic bottles even get recycled.
Right.
So it's like, even the ones that do, they have the energy to transport them to the place to be broken down, to then be melted into something else and then retransported, as opposed to just like everybody having a water bottle that they drink out of every day. You know, it's like, these are the kind of simple changes I feel like people can start with. Having their own water bottle, their own fork when they go out to eat, having a to-go container in their car, in their bag. They know they're going to go to a restaurant. It's like, have a way to get it home. And I think that like the mindfulness in general that comes with being aware of your consumption, it really changes your life because you're paying attention more in general. And so you start paying attention more to yourself. How do I feel? How do I want to live? You know, what makes me feel good, what doesn't. And you eat a lot better when you stop buying packaged food, I can say that. So
Right.
Basically, this is like all different kinds of stuff, from hummus to, you know, canned fish. And I have different people saving things for me, but, you know, so this isn't all my trash, but, you know, sushi containers. It's like fish in a tube that my partner eats, but it could be toothpaste. You know, like, all these products. And then, you know, this was like, I started saving my fabric scraps, and I just want to like, and all my little wrappers I put in these clear bottles, because I just want people with this piece to kind of have the visual impact of like, wow, that's beautiful, but like, wow, that's garbage.
Yeah.
You know, and so I just wanted it to confront people, and the best I could do with the fact that I made all this trash, this piece is kind of my apology to the earth, and it's like the last time that I will live this lifestyle, and I'm like, I'm sorry that I created all this trash, and I'm not going to do it anymore, but like, let this be a memory of
An offering.
An offering. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and I take responsibility for it. You know, I'm not going to throw it away. Like, I did pay for all this stuff.
Right.
And so when you think about it, it's not like, oh, free art supplies. It's like, no, you paid for it.
Yeah.
You bought all these products, and when you buy things in packaging, the company is charging you. They had to make that package, and they have to roll it into the price, as opposed to shopping in the bulk section where you have your own container. You know, you can get your spice jar that's the same size filled up for $1 that it costs you $6 to buy, because you're getting it in the jar pre-made. So it's like these little changes I hope people can make so that we don't have to have all this anymore.
Absolutely. And
So-
you're also making art on top of that, wearable art out of all this recycled
Oh, yeah, you wanna
material.
come in the studio?
Please show us what.
Here, let me get some light
Yes.
going on in here. Well, maybe not so bright. But... So, yeah, here's some pieces that I've been doing. So, these are all made out of, you can see, can tops. And then the only thing that's new on this is the wire.
Beautiful.
And they look cool. So, you know.
How long have you been collecting these materials, these caps? Have your friends also been helping you
Yeah,
out?
a lot of it's from my mom and her friends in the garden club. And, you know, because I don't drink soda or alcohol or the only thing I really drink is an occasional kombucha. So I don't really generate this kind of colored trash personally. So I need to have people save it for me. But it's so fun and colorful to look at, and the stories that come out of all of this trash really fascinate me. And I was inspired by the artist Shrine to work with trash, because I had never really thought about it in that way. But what he did and showed me is like, you take a can, and if it's a metal top, then you take a big thick nail and a hammer, and you just, you know, put the can down, the lid, and you hammer it, and then it puts a hole in it. So then it kind of becomes a bead. And I think when we look at trash as trash, we're like, oh, well, what am I going to do with this bottle cap? Not that I'm saying that this is a solution in any way to the environmental problem. This is, again, an apology letter to the earth, being like, I'm sorry. But if you think about it in a way, at least for me, what it can also represent is, if you look at the way that native people, before basically European conquerors came in and said, you are my property and so is your land. In that time before that, when people lived in more harmony with the earth, they had all these adornments of bones and feathers and all these shells, all these things from the earth. And for me, wearing this jewelry is like, this is what's left of who I am, you know what I mean? It's like, this is the remnants. This is what ends up on the floor, on the ground in our society. Yeah. And it's kind of like, in a way, symbolic to me of taking responsibility, like using the whole animal. It's like, well, if I bought this thing and it came in a packaging, like, I also bought that packaging and I have to be aware of and responsible for the fact that I purchased that. No one held a gun to my head and you have to buy this drink, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, now I just buy a cucumber for 88 cents, cut it up, soak it in water overnight, and I have a delicious drink, or like squeeze a lemon in it, you know what I mean? No waste, and I still get to have a delicious drink. And so it's not about saying you don't get to enjoy anything that makes you happy anymore, but it's just like, you know, think about alternate ways that you could acquire these things that don't result in packaging. So, you know, I just basically make these little pieces out of the lids and caps. So this was like, you know, salsa, wine, you cut it open, tea, beer, peanut butter, and then I use a scrap of leather on the back, and this will become a belt.
Beautiful. It's really beautiful. Zero waste fashion.
So
I love it.
People want to know, when's the party?
Yeah, when is the party? Tell us a little bit. What I really like about zero waste, and I've heard a lot of people come talk to me about it, is the fact that Pussy Powerhouse and the whole concept of the event is it's non-judgmental. No matter what stage you are in this whole zero waste process, you know, if you just want to learn, you're welcome. If you buy water bottles every day and you're thinking about changing that, you're welcome to come. There's no judgment. We're here to teach you and inspire you. So tell us a little bit more about it. It's on this Saturday in downtown LA, January 20th from 2 until 10.
After the Women's March.
Yeah, so if you're going to come to the Women's March, go get some lunch after and then come by to P.S. Kaufman. It's at 8th and Main in downtown L.A. And we've been doing parties mostly on Thursday. We did a Sunday party called Selfish earlier in 2017. Mm-hmm. And this is our first party of 2018. It's also on a Saturday in the daytime. And I just wanted to give people a space, like you said, a non-judgmental place where people can come and learn, because it's like, I'm not perfect, you know, like we all are figuring this out at our own pace. And there's people like Rochelle and Nina, for example. I posted a picture of her fridge on the Pussy Powerhouse account the other day. A year ago, she began her journey to zero waste, and she showed a picture on her Instagram of her fridge beforehand and her fridge now. And honestly, I mean, my jaw hit the floor when I saw it, when she posted it at the beginning of the year, because I was like, this is exactly the point. It's like, in one picture you can look at it and be like, wow, look at all these products. And she had all these, like, you know, organic, like the nice products, but you're like, it's still products and packaging nonetheless. A lot of things loaded with sugar and preservatives, even if they're organic. So, yeah, come whatever stage you're at, whoever you are. We're having a clothing swap. There's going to be biodegradable glitter, fashion booth. Bring your clothes that you have that need mending. Landra's going to be there doing alterations with a sewing machine and hand sewing, teaching people how to mend their own clothes and take care of things. Rochelle and Nina are going to be talking about zero waste lifestyle and what we can all do to move towards a more sustainable future. And, God, there's so many people. A bunch of different art, fashion, interactive stuff, and iDream TV live talk show. Come talk and you know,
tell us your journey.
Tell us your journey. Join us. Let's stream together. Let's get community more involved in zero waste. Thank you so much for your time, Corinne. We're so excited about Saturday. Give you a hug, and thank you for creating this movement and educating people.
Well, I didn't create the movement, but definitely I'm happy to be a part of.
I'm talking about Pussy Powerhouse.
Oh yeah, Pussy Powerhouse. Yes, yeah. Pussy Powerhouse as a movement is really just like, we're not taking any shit in any department.
Absolutely.
And we're gonna be like, what do we really want to see happen? Like, what does a real conscious party look like? And who do we want to be? What legacy does our generation want to leave behind? Because, you know, even though a lot of us aren't having children, we still leave behind a legacy and our actions matter. And people are going to look back at this moment and be like, man, in 2018 when they stopped using plastic, like, you know, just in general, think about the movements that we've been inspired by. And so I just want to be, if nothing else, inspiration, like you said. And so thank you guys all for being here.
Thank you. We look forward to the event. See you guys there. We hope to see you there. Bye. Close.
Sweet.
Finish.
Yes, and there were a couple questions on here.
What do I
Oh,